In this video, we're going to talk about how to make your video episodes more binge-worthy so that people keep coming back for more. Coming up. What's going on, everybody? My name is Karim Mustafa. I'm co-founder and CEO of Tribe Tactics. And in this series of videos, we basically want to give you everything that you need to be able to plan and grow your very own original video series for your brand. And today we're going to be talking about and this is a special episode specifically for those who've already started creating their video shows. My hat off to you. Here's how we can actually start to make these episodes a bit more binge-worthy, a bit more exciting for people to actually start tuning in and coming back time and time again after they've maybe been exposed to that first episode. So here's a few ideas that I wanted to share with you. The first one is consider adding segments. Consider adding specific segments to your videos that are almost like constant building blocks that you have in every episode, regardless of the questions you end up asking. This could be a segment that people can look forward to, especially if you're comparing, how different guests respond to the same segment, right, across different episodes. So examples of segments, and by the way, you can find tons of examples on that. We'll probably do an article about it soon, but already you can just do a quick Google search and come up with tons of like podcast segment ideas for your show. But some great ones that I just wanted to highlight is coming up with like a cool game to play, or like some type of like a quiz or a pop quiz or something like that, where you're preparing a set of questions and the guests, you see how well the guests do, right, in terms of getting how many questions right in that regard. So a game to play could be a great one. Another one which you've probably seen a lot of is creating a set of rapid fire questions. And again, these rapid fire questions are usually the exact same. Sometimes they're a little bit different, but they're more often than not, they tend to be pretty similar, if not the exact same, across the different episodes. And that's the whole point of it, because especially for fans that keep coming back to watch other episodes, they might want to see how guest A, or if you're interviewing companies, let's say how they want to see how company A responded to these questions versus company B versus company C. It's definitely very entertaining, right? It has a lot of entertainment value, but in the same time, definitely may have some education value that would engage your audience in that regard. Last but not least, is the whole idea of a segment is that it breaks away from the main format of the show. So another idea that you could think of is, for example, asking something that's totally abstract, totally random, totally like left field, just to switch it up a little bit and to add a bit of fun and flavor to these actual episodes before going back to the regular scheduled program and episode in that sense. So that's the first point, right? Segments. The second lever that you could pretty much rely on when it comes to making your episodes a bit more binge worthy is the tone. So here's the thing: we believe that it's actually very difficult to come up with brand new topics that no one has ever really talked about before, just like it is actually to come up with like movies where the essential storyline has not necessarily been seen before, and yet we watch tons of movies and we read tons of blogs and watch tons of shows in general, and it's all because of the tone, the specific approach that a specific brand took for that show. So in this case, for these specific topics, think of how you can make your tone maybe a bit more funny, a bit more interesting, a bit more like raw, or just overall more memorable. It's always about how you say something, how you express something, and the angle that you take, rather than the dry like topic and subject by itself. And this could be a great way to differentiate yourself. You might be creating a show around a topic that people know all about, but they keep coming back and back to your show specifically because they just love your specific take on it. Over time, it's going to get into a rhythm where they want to see what you guys have to say about a certain topic because they already resonate with your tone and the specific way and angle that you phrase things. So definitely keep that in mind as a second lever. So far we talked about coming up with consistent segments, coming up with different tones for the way you express topics. Thirdly is this should be pretty obvious, but actually coming up with really interesting guests. And this is the key part that differentiates a lot of shows that we see. These guests have to be, yes, interesting for you, but primarily interesting for your audience, right? Who would be the perfect guest for your show, the perfect guests for your show that would actually almost pull in an audience of their own and have their own following already, where people would genuinely be interested to see what so and so has to say about the specific topics or the specific topics and categories that you're discussing on your show. So definitely think about all the different ways you can extract information that will help you understand who are the interesting guests that you can bring onto your show. Last but not least is to consider different show types. So naturally, the timeless format for creating shows would be a podcast, or in the context of how we like to say, video podcasts specifically. But beyond that, there's so many other different show types that you can consider. For example, a really popular and fun one is to create reaction video series where perhaps you and a colleague, or maybe you and a guest, are reacting to a piece of current news or current events, or just something else in general. Maybe reacting to other brands and how they're doing things in a good way, so on and so forth. So reaction video series could be a good show alternative to video podcasts, and again, a great way to make it a bit more binge-worthy, to spice things up a little bit more. Another type of show that you can create would be things such as panel discussions, where you're actually having more than one guest at the same time, and assuming you're able to manage all the production logistics of that remotely or in person, this would give a lot of great insight to your guests, just because just to your audience, just because you're having multiple views at the same time. So that could be another type of show that you can create. Last but not least, you can also create a show around like more of like a docu-series or like a documentary style series, where you're basically starting off by answering or rather asking one golden question, and then you set off to find answers to this golden question across many episodes, and arriving at a very interesting conclusion, perhaps by the final episode or the final episode of season 1, right, of your show. And so you, throughout these different episodes, you might be talking to people inside your company, outside your company. You're basically taking people on that journey, which genuinely makes the content a lot more binge-worthy, because they want to tune in all the way to the end if we do it right, so that they can actually figure out what happens in the end. So to summarize, think of different segments that could spice up your show and make it a bit more binge-worthy. Think of changing up the tone to make it a bit more laid back, a bit more interesting, a bit more memorable overall. And also come up with interesting guests that would be interesting for your audience primarily. And last but not least, to consider different show types as well. So hopefully that was helpful. Let us know what you thought in the comments wherever you're watching this, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Chat to you later.